From the Fathead Studio in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny.
Like, man, am I still pretty? And he's like, you ain't pretty, but you're going to be all right.
And now I'm just hanging on, looking at the wall, like flying this way. And I'm like, oh man, I got to let go of this thing at some point.
And then there's one that could literally pick you up.
Yeah,
It's
I'm not really sure about that, but yeah.
That's called a helicopter.
Well,
And the last lap was just chaos. I mean, like 4 wide, 5 wide, dive bombing.
If you land it and send it into the fence, you're probably not going to get hurt. Bounce and then this insane roll, the car that Keegan was in. I mean, I don't know, it's the shape of the Beetle or what, but that thing sent it.
So I was the supercharger specialist on my old man's car with
Specialist?
Robert Light. Yeah, it sounds cooler than crew guy.
Hi, I'm Tony Stewart.
I'm Mario Andretti.
I'm Christy Lee.
I'm Alexander Rossi.
I'm Cruz Pedregon.
I'm Logan Seavey, and this is The Skinny.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Skinny. We're in the Fatheads Eyewear Studio. Speedway, Indiana is where it's all going down, and we have a special guest in the studio with us here today. How about the 2017 Power Eye National Champion and Rookie of the Year 2017, 2018 USAC National Midget Champion and Rookie of the Year. I believe the only guy that has both of those championships, by the way. Let's go to 2021, won something called the Turkey Night Grand Prix. Yeah, that's a big midget race, but none of them are as big as the one that he just won. How about your 2023 winner of the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Midget Nationals, Mr. Logan Seavey in the house?
Hey,
congrats, brother.
Nice to be here. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome stuff. Ken Stout with you, Rico sitting right alongside, and these two guys have had a great relationship over the course of time as well. Sponsored athlete by Fatheads Eyewear.
Yeah, I was trying to think of that. Do you remember what year that kind of started?
Probably like 2020, I think, is kind of when we first started getting into everything. And
yeah, Robbie's stuff probably, right?
Yep.
A little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. With the Silver Crown deal.
Chuckling or speaking with Klepper a little bit, and he thought you were the only guy that actually has a Power Eye and USAC National Midget Championship, which I find hard to believe, but I guess it's possible. I'm not going to take credit for it, because if it's wrong, I want Klepper to own it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that could be Klepper's deal, right, if he's wrong. But probably. I mean, Zach Dom's won a bunch. I think Brad Loyette's won a bunch of Power Eye stuff, but I don't know if either of them have a USAC championship. So, yeah, it could possibly be the only one. I don't really, like I said, I don't know all the stats.
That's right. That's where it would hang him.
And you did it, both of those, in your rookie year, which is pretty astounding. Ryan Newman, I think, the only person in history to win Rookie of the Year in all 3 USAC national divisions as well, which is something else you've done. So I believe second person to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a pretty cool stat. Yeah, like you said, that Newman's the only one that has ever really done that, and then I kind of followed him up. But yeah, I just have gotten into really good cars in my first year, which a lot of guys aren't able to do that. So I'm just fortunate that I was able to get in good stuff and be able to be quick right off the bat.
Who did you get Rookie of the Year on the sprint car?
With Chase Briscoe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I ran most of the season with Briscoe, and then I went out west with Andy Reinbold, and I didn't even run the full season. I just don't think there was a whole lot of people running that year. Yeah. But I ran a lot of the races that year, but yeah, I didn't get the whole season in. But
nobody will ever look back and go, how many people were vying for that?
Yeah, no.
They're just going to say, he got it Rookie of the Year. That'll be the end of it.
Right.
Timing's everything, man. I mean, it's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, and the Silver Crown. So you started racing full-time 2020, right? Robbie stuff.
Yep, there wasn't very many races that year, but we did go, the full-time schedule that year. Obviously, a lot of stuff got canceled, but I started full-time with Robbie in 2020.
So tell us about that. 21, had a little bit of success, huh?
Yeah.
Just couldn't quite pull it off.
Yeah, we put the full schedule together. We got a pavement car in 2021, and then went out and ran second in the points. Won a bunch of dirt races. Weren't very good on the pavement, and that's kind of where it hurt us. But then we came back this year, or last year, I guess, 2022, and we were really strong on the pavement. So, and then we still got second, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, we're getting a lot better on the pavement side of things. Our dirt car's still unbelievably fast, and we're winning races, so that's always fun.
You getting Joe D to throw down on the pavement a little bit more?
Joe really hasn't done much on the pavement side of things. I mean, he's helped us a little bit here and there, but as far as the pavement side goes, it's all Ronnie Gardner, really.
Yeah, Ronnie's tough. He's way tough. But yeah, Joe D, when I remember when all of that, Joe Devin that owns DRC, which, by the way, if anybody has not seen it, go look at the run. Instead of DMC, it says Run DRC.
It's a
The
cool
same logo.
Yeah.
I love it. I called him immediately when I saw
That's
it. I was
great.
like, dude, I love this logo. This is amazing. But yeah, I remember Robbie talking about Joe's like, yeah, I'll show up, but I'm not doing anything, at the pavement stuff.
Yeah, it's been fun. Like I said, our dirt stuff right from the beginning was fast. Joe D kind of put it all together in the beginning and took care of it for us. And then we brought Ronnie in, and Ronnie kind of took over the dirt stuff, and then really just hit the pavement stuff head on, and it hit us back pretty hard. And we got better over the off season last year, and obviously got that program a lot better. And we're kind of racing up front now on the pavement too. So. That's been fun, huge learning experience for all of us, especially me. But yeah, overall, it's just such a fun series to race in.
Yeah, and I mean, you ran ARCA, you ran trucks. I mean, those big Silver Crown cars are like boats.
Right.
I mean, they're not doing anything real quick.
No, not at all.
Get them wound up, they will, but it takes a little bit.
I remember the first time my son was in, he tested
Yeah.
the Silver Crown car, and he had never been in a sprint car. And Eric Gordon walked over to him. He said, "Oh man," he said, "you're going to love this thing." He said, "They're just big and slow." He said, "They're nothing like a sprint car." Well, he'd never been in a sprint car, so he gets inside of a 700 horsepower Silver Crown car, and this thing's whipping, down the straightaway. You can hardly see where he's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call that slow.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be right back with the 2023 winner of the Chili Bowl in just a moment.
I went over there, I think Friday, to start the car, and I got in it, and I couldn't get the brake. We couldn't get any brake pedal, right? So I just had no brakes.
The Skinny is brought to you by Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. Lucas Oil. Lucas Oil, keep that engine alive. General Tire. General Tire delivers. And Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04.
Welcome back to The Skinny. We have Logan Seavey out of Sutter, California in the studio with us here today. Ken Stout, Rico, Elmore sitting alongside a very successful Chili Bowl. Let's focus in on that thing a little bit because you came out. First of all, we should mention that you were driving for Kevin Swindell. Super cool, right? Swindell Lab, or Speed Lab. And you came out on Friday night and had a great run. You won the heat race. You won your qualifier. You won the prelim. I believe second prelim win for you. Last time was with Keith Coons, and put that together. And then, of course, that locked you in for the Saturday A. Did a great job in the pole shuffle as well. If I'm not mistaken, where'd you start off?
Second.
Second. So, yeah, outside pole there, and clearly had a great run throughout the A main. But talk to me about the car. Talk to me about the preparation coming into this year. What was different?
Yeah, so this year Kevin kind of, wanted to do his own thing and build his own car. And, we got together with Tim Bertrand, who does some pavement midget stuff and always supplies Kevin with their engines for the Chili Bowl, Kevin and Sammy. But this year Kevin wanted to build his own car, and Tim was on board, so they kind of got together and just started ordering what they needed to do, a Chili Bowl program. And it took a long time because obviously everything's backed up and whatnot, and it's hard to get anything really to go racing these days. But they were able to get it all together, and we were still trying to get the car together like Friday and Saturday before practice. And
wow,
Saturday took a while even to get it to start. We had a few fuel issues and stuff like that. But yeah, we just kind of built this brand new car, and Kevin put on it what he wanted to do to it, and kind of set it up the way he wanted to set it up from the start, and then we took it there, and we were okay on practice day, but we had some things we wanted to change, and he kind of changed some major things, really, actually, for as far as racing goes, and we got the car a lot better for the Race of Champions on Monday, qualified second for that, and we were just really good all week, actually, speed-wise. Friday came around for our prelim night, and drew the front row of a heat race, which isn't usually ideal, but for whatever reason this year with the track or just how it lined up, that it seemed like a lot of guys were doing good from the front row, and we won our heat, and then we won the qualifier, and started on the pole of our prelim night, and that went really smooth. Nothing went wrong there. So our car was just fast all week, and like you said, we got up front in the pole shuffle, and then put ourselves on the pole for the race. So you just can't really ask for a much better week, and that's what makes that race so hard, is that you don't get weeks like that very often. When you do, you still gotta put 55 laps together.
Let's go back to Friday, Saturday before the practice day, so the weekend prior to, and you're looking at a car that's not completed, brand new car, absolutely no reason to have any confidence in this car. When you're looking at that going into the Chili Bowl, what are your thoughts as a driver? Is it one of those deals where you're just like, they get it done, I'll get in it and do the best I can do? I mean, what are your feelings about that?
That's exactly what I was thinking. And he was talking about the fueling issues. So now you're there.
You have to have some wicked doubts. Like, man, we're at the Chili Bowl. Right. This thing's brand new.
Exactly.
It hasn't even started ever.
Right.
And we're going to go out here and try to beat the entire world. I mean, that's a tall task.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I went over there, I think, Friday to start the car, and I got in it, and I couldn't get the brake. We couldn't get any brake pedal, right? So I just had no brakes. So we sit there.
Friday when?
This was Friday before practice. So this is a week, 8 days before the final night.
Okay.
And I go to fire the car, and I get in it. As soon as I get in it, I feel the brakes instantly. I knew there was no brakes. So we go working on that, and we were there all night working on this. And I got there in the middle of the day, and we were there till all night working on this thing, and finally kind of figure out our issue, and get that worked out. So I go the next morning to fire it, and we push it up, and we were supposed to go to Port City and practice. And we push it up and down the road, can't get this thing to fire at all. And, one of our, we have a couple crew guys, and one of his dads, a dad came over and got it worked out and figured it out for us. But yeah, we had Stanton on the phone, and he was kind of struggling to figure out the issue. And, we were struggling for sure just to even get the thing fired and to get the brakes to work. And then we go to practice day, and I still really didn't love the brakes. Kept looking for issues, finally found another issue. I feel like we were just constantly working on a few of the smaller things that obviously make the thing go around well, but man, it was a battle all week, but to have the week we had was pretty unreal.
Well, and honestly, it's nothing out of the ordinary. That's new car blues, right? That's just what happens. We've all been there. We've all been part of that. But to do it on the Friday and Saturday before your practice day, and that's the biggest thing, right, about the Chili Bowl, is you've got to roll out of the trailer good. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, your chances are slim and none.
Yeah, and luckily for us, we get to race that Race of Champions, obviously, because how well Kevin's ran there in the past, but. That's kind of a lifesaver for us, just every year to go there. And, I don't obviously race that car at all ever throughout the season. A lot of the guys race the same car they run all year, so it's not as important. But especially for us this year to have a brand new car and to have that Race of Champions kind of gives us a little extra practice, which is super helpful. And, it kind of saved us this year. If we were running into a few of those small issues on our prelim night, it probably doesn't go as smoothly for us.
So that car... you guys ended up, will Kevin park that till next year? What's he going to do with that car now?
I'm not sure if he has any plans to run it outdoors or what, but it's a normal outdoor car, so it's not, it's legal and all that with USAC, so that's not an issue. But like I said, the guys that own the engines, they race IRP, so the engine deal would probably be the hardest part about it, just getting an engine back in it and all that. But yeah, I think... maybe if the race lines up well for a schedule and pays okay, I could see him maybe bringing it out. But for now, I think his plan is just to keep it a Chili Bowl only car.
And it's interesting. I saw where Esslinger all those years won, and then Toyota all those years won, and now it's Stanton's SR12,
SR11,
SR11.
Yep.
So it's. And, Eric and Stanton and all those guys are great dudes. They're really good people. And, I've watched Stanton show up there and, engines popping, this and that happening, just fluke stuff. And they fought through it to put a good piece out there. And, they ran great. What was Thorson running?
He runs SR11 also, yep.
That's what I was thinking.
Yep.
So.
Shaggy usually flips me some stats on that deal from TRD, and the involvement, or the number of entries, I should say, for Stanton and Toyota has risen substantially over the course of the past, call it 5 years. I mean, it used to be dominated by Esslinger. Now Esslinger, I believe the number was 82 entries. I think Stanton also had 82 entries, and Toyota had like 67. So about 22% of the field, somewhere in that general area. So those three are dominant, and then there's a number of other ones that work their way in.
That new Honda thing.
But Esslinger used to be the bulk, of
yeah.
the field, and it's taken those guys, Toyota and some of those other guys, a little longer to build up in. So a little bit of behind-the-scenes stuff there that goes on at the Chili Bowl, and the big-time manufacturers that are also behind the scenes playing ball and try and get their name out as well. So good stuff. We'll take a quick break here. We'll be right back in just a moment.
But I feel like as soon as I moved up, it was pretty gripped up there, and I feel like I moved at the right time, and then could still kind of see the screen a little bit this year. They moved it.
Welcome back to the Skinny. We have Logan Seavey in the studio with us here. Of course, just off a win a couple of weeks ago at the Chili Bowl, and a great battle it was. We talked about all of his success on Friday night, his prelim night, staying in front of Justin Grant, by the way, and hats off to you, because I remember watching that race and watching the curb up on the top, and you guys had to deal with that. And I thought Justin Grant played it perfect. I mean, he could have got aggressive, but it would just been foolish. I mean, he was locked in, and that's the whole goal, right, is to get to the Saturday night A. He did a good job with that, but you had a fast car, and even going back to Wednesday night watching Rico, it took Rico to the very last lap, but he finally got up there, and it's amazing, and I wish there was a way to describe to the fans how difficult it is for you guys to do what you do, but to roll around the top and just touch that curb, because if you get into the side of it, it's going to upset the car. You're going to lose a spot. You might flip the car. I mean, it's quite a tap dance, but you guys did a magical job.
Yeah, like you said, it's super tricky, and it seemed like this week it was even more technical and tricky than ever. It got really big, right up on the wall all week, really, and it was really tricky to run, and that's why you kind of seen a few guys be really good on it. A lot of guys flipped over on it. A lot of guys made a lot of mistakes. But, yeah, guys like Rico or Justin, or guys that are, good at running a cushion can get around it really good. But yeah, I think, my prelim night Friday, the top just wasn't quite in as well as it probably was early in the week. And just kept getting harder to run as the week went on. It seemed, Monday it seemed like a lot of guys were up there. Tuesday, a few guys were up there. Wednesday, by the end of it, it was just Rico. And then Thursday and Friday, it kind of went back down to the bottom. But yeah, I got to, like we talked about earlier, I got a good start to my prelim night, and I got to start in front of Justin, which is huge. Obviously he's kind of known as Mr. Friday Night, and he's won a lot of them lately. But starting in front of him is obviously a great start. And then, yeah, we just kind of get out there, and the name of the game is just kind of getting to the top before anybody else does, and that's kind of hard as the leader. But I feel like as soon as I moved up, it was pretty gripped up there, and I feel like I moved at the right time, and then could still kind of see the screen a little bit this year. They moved it, but you can still see it a little bit. I was just going to bring that up. So I seen him running around Ace at one point, and I knew I was at the right place on the racetrack, and also knew he was probably in second and going to be close. But yeah, I think we had a yellow or two, and I was able to hold him off, and then it kind of took rubber on the bottom at the end, which is kind of why you didn't see him get out of line, and just kind of settled for second, and lived to survive another day and lock into the Chili Bowl. But yeah, not ideal there at the end for our prelim night for it to take rubber, the last 10 or so laps, but unfortunately, it's just how it goes.
We'll take a quick break here one more time, and we'll come back on the other side with more from Logan Seavey.
It's harder to see now, given that it definitely is harder. But I feel like you can almost see it longer now, because you can still be looking at it, when you're all the way into the turn. Yeah, whereas before you kind of looked at it till the flag stand, and then you got to get turned in.
You got to send them a little thank you note.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Skinny. You brought up a good point there with the screen. I don't know if you realize that or not, but yeah, the screen. So for the fans at home, when you go to the Chili Bowl, there's a large screen at the end of the front straightaway into turn one, or in between turns 1 and 2. And the guys that are good enough to look at it will glance up, especially if you're out front and you've got a little bit of breathing room if you're not in lap traffic, right?
You think you have breathing room.
You're right, yeah. You look up and you're like, man, are those guys, is anybody going to the top yet? Because like you said, if you're leading, you don't know. So is anybody going to the top? So you kind of keep an eye on that. Well, they moved the screen and they moved it over like behind turn number 2 and off to the side a little bit and made it a little more difficult. And I remember on one of the prelim nights, one of the drivers, they were interviewing him and said, they said something about the screen. He says, "Oh yeah, I was still able to use the screen." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, because you're hammered down in the middle of 1 and 2, looking at it, But yeah, why did they move it? Any?
I think for that purpose,
trying to get the drivers not to look at it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like you said, it's always been in play, but it used to jump out at you, right? It's this big lit up screen, and you're on the front stretch all by yourself. It's almost hard to miss.
I mean, all by yourself with nothing to do.
Right.
I mean, you're going to front straight for like what, like a second and a half?
I mean, you should just
right. That's a long time.
You should just leave your phone on, have a cell phone holder in your car, and just have flow on it.
I think it's a great example of just how fast your brains are working. Honestly, I mean, everything slows down, but your brain is in warp speed. In this car, all the stuff that goes on, all the racing that is so critical, and you're like, what's he doing up there? Look at the screen, and doing your thing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's always been a big factor of the Chili Bowl, right? You always see it. Some guy will get going on the top, and the next thing you know, the leader just, boom, changes lanes. And yeah, it's always been there, and it's harder to see now. I'll give them that. It definitely is harder. But I feel like you can almost see it longer now because you can still be looking at it, when you're all the way into the turn. Yeah. Whereas before you kind of looked at it till the flag stand, and then you got to get turned in.
You got to send them a little thank you note.
Yeah. Now you can see at least you can see where they're all running in 1 and 2 now. Yeah.
Thanks for moving that screen. We can see it a lot better now. Thanks, guys.
I think they put a bigger one up too. I think it's even bigger now. Yeah.
Now Emmett's going to see this. Like, take it down. Just get rid of it altogether. We're done. Yeah, that's amazing though. I mean, I forget some other place, something like that. But they were watching the big screen of where everybody was at on the track, and I was just like, and it's the same thing that we were talking about. It's like Antron Brown when he was on here. Antron was talking about how you've got to run your 300 plus mile an hour and 1,000 feet, but he can tell you every step of that run about when it stands up on the tires, when it goes 1-to-1 on the clutch. And I mean, so it's pretty wild. I mean, but it's like you said, how fast your brain's working, and I mean, hell, we can't find anybody that can put their makeup on and drive and eat at the same time. And these guys are looking at TVs and
four knobs in there as well, right? Each corner, you can adjust the shocks on all 4 corners.
Yeah, I mean, I have 6 actually, but yeah,
really?
Yeah. So most shocks are rebound adjustable, which is as the shock's coming out. And then both of my rears were compression and rebound adjustable, so I can adjust it both ways, going up or down. So
any lumbar on the seat or anything?
No, I wish. No, actually, I just wear
heated seat. I mean, vibrate.
Use a sharp insert, so it fits me pretty nice.
Great stuff here. We'll take a quick break. We have plenty more to talk about with Logan Seavey.
There's an atmosphere in that building, right? So you can come off turn 2 and see the rowdies going crazy, or getting into turn 3 and see the turn 3 and 4 grandstands just going crazy. And that's usually because you're about to get past for the lead. And so it's not ideal, right? If you see the building calm, that's when you know you're doing it fine. And I didn't see the building calm 1 lap.
The Skinny is brought to you by Lucas Oil. Lucas Oil, keep that engine alive. Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. Toyota, let's go places. And General Tire. General Tire delivers.
Welcome back to the Fatheads Eyewear Studios. We're here in Speedway, Indiana on the Skinny. 2023 is going down here, and this guy kicked it off in a big way by winning the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals. A great weekend for sure. Prelim night. Let's go to the race itself. Talk to me about how things shook down, because you battled there for a while. Hank Davis, by the way, I mean, an incredible week for him. Did a great job winning his prelim night, and up there on the front row with you, I believe, at the start of that race. Hung around for a while. Unfortunately, had a mishap there and was out of it. Cannon McIntosh, always a threat anytime he gets behind the wheel, and The kid is super, super talented. And then right there at the very end, man, you guys were just absolutely going at it. Tanner Thorson works his way back up in there. That was my pick, by the way. He was crazy fast all week, as we expected, right? And at the end, those last handful of laps, man, I mean, we were calling the race. Klepper and I calling the race, and you would make a move. It was so cool because you would go up and then back down, and he might try to go up if you were down, and no matter what you guys did, the gap stayed exactly the same. I mean, your cars were identical, both of you wheeling them, both of you supreme talents, and to watch one really not get an advantage over the other than you just happen to be in front. What a battle.
Yeah, like you said, I think after watching the race back now and seeing how it all played out a little bit more from an outsider's view, I don't think we could have been more even. You know, I still haven't yet, but I'd like to go back and look at the lap times. I feel like we had to have been running within, a couple hundredths every single lap. The gap seemed like it never changed, between me and Tanner for the last 15 laps. It seemed like it was almost exactly the same the whole time, but it kind of started out like the typical Chili Bowl would. They kind of worked it up, and we ran. I think I ran 14 or 15 laps on the bottom, and then I heard Cannon on my outside through 3 and 4, and I got up and I went way too high initially. He almost drove back by me through the middle, and then I kind of found the middle, and we ran around the middle for another 4 or 5 laps, and I think he went by me at like lap 20-ish for the lead, which is not usually too bad at the Chili Bowl. You can usually. Obviously, it's a 55 lapper, so you can afford to lose the lead there for a little bit, and it works out usually better to be in second, kind of as you're getting to lap traffic and whatnot. But yeah, that's kind of where I feel like I found the line I needed to run while I was in second, and that's probably a key moment of the race there. I kind of found the middle of 1 and 2 was best for my car, and then the top in 3 and 4 I was really good up there too. So able to sneak back by Cannon on a restart, and then run a bunch of laps kind of by myself. And that whole time, I just felt like there was somebody right on my bumper. And like I said, going back to the race, there was somebody right on my bumper the whole race. So
that's what I was getting ready. That's why I was getting ready to say. I mean, I used to race many years ago and many pounds ago, of course. But anyhow, you could hear somebody a little bit, but when they're right behind you, there's no hearing them, right? I mean, if they're on the outside of you or the inside, you can kind of pick them up a little bit, right? Okay, yeah, that's what I've kind of figured with you guys on that.
Yeah, the Chili Bowl especially, like you can hear people on the outside, and then there's an atmosphere in that building, right? So you can come off turn 2 and see the rowdies going crazy, or getting into turn 3 and see the turn 3 and 4 grandstands just going crazy. And that's usually because you're about to get passed for the lead, and so it's not ideal, right? If you see the building calm, that's when you know you're doing it fine. And I didn't see the building calm 1 lap, so and you just know as a racer, right? When you're making good laps and your car feels good, you know that you're probably driving away from guys. And I feel like I was making okay laps, and I felt okay, but you can't just be okay there. You have to be on it. And they were right there with us the whole race. And after talking with Tanner and Cannon a little bit after the race, I don't think anybody's cars felt awesome that day. I think we were all kind of struggling for grip and struggling for grip in 1 and 2, and then I was up on the top in 3 and 4, so I kind of had to keep my car loosened up and freed up so I didn't get tight on the cushion. Whereas Tanner was able to get pretty aggressive with his shocks and whatnot because he was running the bottom all the way around. So
Tanner had that. Tanner was running the middle there. Was it 3 and 4?
3 and 4.
He found a little grip right around the center there where he could kind of, oddly enough, I mean, it looked like a better line, but he wasn't closing. I mean, again, it was just maintaining.
Yeah, I think that's actually where he passed Bell for the lead last year too. Was right through the middle in 3 and 4, and he could get next to me, and then once I'd come off the cushion, I'd kind of get back away from him a little bit. But he's one of the best at making his car make grip where other guys can't. So he's really good at that. And I was able just to run the top really hard for a while. And then it's like every lap I would see his nose, and then I'd see his right front wheel, and then by the time I could see his Nerf bar, I was like, man, I gotta get off the top here, and get down in front of him, at least take his line away. Even if I'm not as fast as him down there, I can at least get in front of him, and then if he wants to go up to the top and try to drive around me, hats off. But I was running really hard up there just to keep up at that point, so I knew if I could just get down and get in front of him, and then go to work on my car a little bit, try to get a little bit better, that I'd be in good shape. And then, yeah, after, like I said, after watching the video now, I think if I waited another lap, I think, Tanner Thorson wins.
What is, do you have to have a lot of confidence in a guy like that? You have no choice. I agree with you. You got to try to win this thing. So you go to the top, you got to get down to the bottom. It's Tanner. He's aggressive. But, and I thought he raced you as hard as he could race you without turning you. And that's exactly what you want in a fellow competitor. Like, elbows up, get after it, but don't crash me type of thing. Is that something that you're concerned about whenever you get down there? Because, for the Chili Bowl, they can turn you like that. And by most parts, people would say, oh, it's for the Chili Bowl. It happens,
Right. Yeah. I don't think I was ever concerned about getting crashed. I figured, he was obviously better than me on the bottom, and I knew that. My car wasn't great on the bottom on Saturday. And I had it freed up probably too far just to get around the cushion. And then I didn't make the proper adjustments once I did get down. But as far as being crashed, I was never worried. I've raced with Tanner for almost 20 years now. We grew up racing the same go-kart tracks growing up. I traveled, we all both traveled, or he actually lived in Nevada, but I would travel to Nevada, Oregon, all these places around the West Coast. And we raced together 50 times a year probably for, as long as I can remember. And
so who won those battles?
Tanner won a lot. Yeah, he was really good. We didn't always, for the most part, actually, we raced the same class, but he kind of moved up a little bit before me. I think he's like a year older than me, and I was always just like one step behind him with everything we did. But that's not to say I didn't win races either, but he was really good in outlaw cards. So, but yeah, I wasn't really worried about getting crashed. I figured once it kind of was, those last few laps, it was starting to take rubber on the bottom, and I knew I couldn't miss that. And I figured he'd tried to, knock me out of the rubber a little bit, and he got into my back bumper maybe one time. But other than that, I think, that's just not the way. He wants to win the Chili Bowl, right? He doesn't want to crash somebody to win, and
good for him.
And that's respectable. But yeah, he did everything he could, I think, with the cards he was dealt.
That's what I saw. I saw one tag for sure, and not an intentional tag to spin you. Just, I think he was a little bit faster down there and maybe got in a little bit better. I saw you also slip up one time that I recall anyways. He was right behind you, so he wasn't able to take advantage of it. You gathered it back up and didn't do it again. So it was just a vicious battle there, the last handful of laps, and quite a treat to watch. We'll take a quick break here one more time, and we'll come back on the other side with more from Logan Seavey.
It used to be such a obvious path, right? You go USAC to Indy, and that's how it went. And I don't know where the path is or how you get there, but yeah, that's not something I would count out, but it's just a tough deal, right? All racing is right now. It'd be tough for me to start.
It's nothing a mile and a half won't cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Once again, welcome back to the Skinny. We have Logan Seavey in the studio with us. Lives out in California, spending his time here in beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. Not always so beautiful here in January, February, but
I think he's stuck here now. I think he lives here now.
Yeah.
Between here and Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
There's a lot of racing that goes on the West Coast, but primarily you're here and chasing the dream. And as we bring that up, of course, we'll put a button on your Chili Bowl win there. Congratulations. Great effort there. What does that do for you, man? How do you take that and parlay that into something this year?
Yeah, I think for this year in general, as far as like full-time stuff, it probably doesn't have a whole lot of effect. But overall, just on, my career and, maybe having some other opportunities to do some other things, hopefully, it'll open some doors. But yeah, I would love to try new things. Like I said, I ventured into the pavement stuff and enjoyed that, with the Silver Crown side of things. And yeah, I would love to do, some more wing stuff or some late model stuff even, or anything like that, big blocks, whatever it might be. But yeah, I think as far as this year, full-time stuff, I don't think it has a whole lot of effect. I'm going to race midgets and sprint cars and Silver Crown cars like I always would, and keep plugging away at that.
Some success in ARCA. You mentioned stock cars. Late model stuff, some success there. Matter of fact, I think you earned Venturini their 50th win, if I'm not mistaken, whenever you won at DeCoin. You would think asphalt, but that was a dirt race. Of course, you're going to shine there, right? But is that someplace you would like to go? Because when I look at people like you, certainly we look at at a Kyle Larson, we look at a Christopher Bell, and some other examples where they've gone on to the fendered card world. But I would also think somebody like yourself would do really, really well in open wheel, meaning Indy Lights, IndyCar, something like that. Is that on the radar at all?
Indy next.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like, you know, it used to be such a obvious path, right? You go USAC to Indy, and that's how it went. And I don't know where the path is or how you get there, but yeah, I mean, that's not something I would count out, but it's just a tough deal, right? I mean, all racing is right now. It'd be tough for me to start.
Nothing a mill and a half won't cover.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be tough to start and try to get into sprint cars, you know, if I was 3 years later or whatever it is. So every path right now is tough. I don't know what the path to IndyCar is. I don't know what the path to NASCAR is, or if that's even, you know, an option these days, or how it all works out. So yeah, it's tough. It's not obviously, you know, not like it used to be. And you know, there's not guys just sitting there with Indy cars looking at USAC trying to find a driver. They're seems like more and more they're looking to, you know, Europe and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, there's still guys doing it, and there's still guys being successful. So you never know.
You would think like they would have some kind of a farm team, if you will. Okay,
right.
You know, whereas, you know, you have Logan coming through this, and Toyota was doing some of the same, you know, and grooming people for their NASCAR ventures and things like that, which I got to tell you, I really thought that you were a shoe-in for that, just watching some of the stuff that you had been doing and were doing. And we've had that conversation quite a bit, but, you know, the thing of it is, it's like, you would just think that they would have something for IndyCar like that. Okay, you go through this, you go through that, you get to Indy Lights, and then from Indy Lights you go, you know, in what drove the sport of IndyCar was the characters. You know, no different than NASCAR. It was the characters. It was Tony Stewart talking about he's going to bust somebody, you know, and so on and so forth. And that's the character. You know, that's what people tune in for, not, well, you know, I don't think you really meant to hit me. No, he clearly meant to hit you. He spun you out. He dumped you. And now go at it. You know what I mean? So I know there's a corporate aspect to it, but the corporations have to understand that's what people are wanting to see. Why did NASCAR get proper? You know, get popular when it did? It's because Bobby Allison busted Cale Yarborough up while he was picking his brother Donnie up. You know, and I mean, that was the first televised race, you know, nationwide televised race. And there was a huge snowstorm up the eastern seaboard. So all of these people are watching this and are like, man, we got to watch this.
Good old boys are throwing down.
We got to watch this again, you know, so.
Yeah, I think that's why dirt racing right now is doing as good as it's ever have too, right? Like, people see how exciting it is, and the people that are racing are just normal guys like NASCAR and all these places used to be, and I think people can you know, relate to that a lot more, and they have more fun supporting, you know, guys like myself or Thomas Mesereau, or, you know, people that they just like as a person, and they see the real side of them, and you can go to the pits and talk to them. You know, like, people just love dirt racing right now. All the NASCAR guys are trying to go dirt racing, and yeah, I think we're seeing a little bit of a shift there. So it's exciting for guys like myself and whatnot that are coming up in dirt racing. You don't have to really look for other paths, because the dirt side of things is looking better than ever, I feel
you can
like.
make a living.
Yep.
And that's what it's about.
Yep.
Awesome stuff. We'll talk more with the massively successful Logan Seavey when we come back and find out what his plans are for 2023.
Ever want to be a team owner? Ever want to own your own stuff? You just want to drive people's stuff?
I mean, I think it's probably a lot more stressful to own. I mean, I guess it goes both ways, right? It's more stressful to own your own stuff, but then it's also less stressful because you can't get fired.
The Skinny is brought to you by General Tire. General Tire delivers. Toyota. Toyota. Let's go places. Lucas Oil. Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive. And Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear. Hardcore since '04.
Welcome back to Speedway, Indiana, the Fatheads Eyewear studio for the Skinny. Ken Stout, Rico Elmore sitting alongside, and Mr. Logan Seavey, fresh off his win at the Chili Bowl. The ripe old age of 25 years old. You are in your prime, my friend, and ready to rock and roll. So what's the future for 23? I mean, I know we touched on it a little bit, but do you have a plan? Do you have a team that you're going forward with? Sprint cars, midgets, Silver Crown, and what is the goal here?
Yeah, I think this year my goal is probably to win the Silver Crown Championship. I mean, we ran second the last.
Did you ask Cody if you could do that?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to him and see what he says. But yeah,
Wow,
I mean,
that's hateful.
Yeah, yeah. No, the first year Cody smoked us. He missed the entire race and still came back and won. But last year it was close. It was really, really close and came down to the last race, and we were in contention and then hurt an engine. But yeah, I think that's overall the goal this year is to win the Silver Crown Championship with Rice Motorsports, and just seeing what we can do. Like I said, we've been close. We win a lot of races on dirt, and our pavement program's catching up. So that's kind of the key there is to run good on pavement and then win the races that we excel at, and that's obviously the dirt. So for now, yeah, that's the plan for me, and then do some midget racing with Abacus Racing and Brent Cox and their whole team, and then at the moment I don't really have a sprint car plan. When this comes out, I might, but for now I don't. We'll see. Yeah, at the moment I don't. Yeah.
Attention, everyone! He needs a sprint car ride.
Right. So yeah, if I don't have one when this comes out, call me.
Yeah,
but
give me a call.
Right.
So the asphalt side of things, as you say, it's getting better and better. Is it a combination of the team and you? Is it you trying to learn how to drive asphalt? Is it the combination of the team trying to set the car up and you not being able to give them the best feedback because you're more of a dirt guy?
Yeah, I think a lot of both. The first year that we ran pavement, we struggled a little bit with me just not knowing how to drive the car. Not knowing how hard I can run it, how hard I can push the tires, stuff like that. And then we sorted out, as the season went on, some things were wrong with the car that I didn't realize were wrong with the car at first. And as it went on, I was kind of figuring it out on my own. Like, hey, I think, this is wrong and this is wrong. And over the off season, we changed a lot of our front end geometry and our steering gear and that sort of thing. And then, man, it was like a light switch. The car was a lot easier to drive on my end, and then I could push the car harder, and then I can kind of feel the car and what it was doing a lot better, and just all together, it kind of came together a lot more last year with overall our setup and Ronnie Gardner getting better at setting the car up and kind of knowing what we needed, and I think overall just as a team, we were kind of in left field on the first year, and then we all kind of came together and got the car miles better, and I'm driving better, and I know. Where I need to be on the racetrack and things like that. So, overall, we jumped forward hugely, really, really big in 2022, and hopefully we can carry that into this year.
Fast forward a few years. I mean, ever want to be a team owner? Ever want to own your own stuff? You just want to drive people's stuff?
I think it's probably a lot more stressful to own. I guess it goes both ways, right? It's more stressful to own your own stuff, but then it's also less stressful because you can't get fired. So, I think overall, if you can do it right, I think that's the goal, right? If you can have the right people supporting you and have the right equipment and hire the right people, I think that's the way to do it. It's just a lot more moving pieces and stuff like that. Like I said, it's a lot more, having your stuff together, and you got to run a race team is a business, and it's no joke. And like I said, it costs a lot of money to do. Yeah, I think overall, it's probably a better option, but yeah, it takes a lot more to do it, and you just can't just pick up the phone and say, hey, let's go race, and go race. It takes a lot, and it's a lot of management, and at the moment, I don't think I'm ready for that, but long term, once I kind of figure out how it all works a little bit more, I would love to have that as an option, but for now, I'm just racing and doing my thing.
Yeah.
Hey, man, thanks a lot for taking the time to come in here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. It was a good time.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck moving forward here in 2023, and hopefully one of those doors opens up, and maybe it's an Indy Lights ride, maybe it's an ARCA ride, or something more. You did a great job on the truck there for Kyle Busch as well, I know, and at Eldora nearly winning that race. So it's certainly not for lack of talent. So hopefully that opportunity comes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Logan Seavey, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed this edition of The Skinny. We'll see you next time. Plenty more great drivers to come.